Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and today we're going to be doing a versus video between the Puma MB.01 and the Nike PG6. So a lot of you guys requested this via DM on Instagram, so shout out to the Soul Squad for that. And the Puma MB.01 is going for 125 bucks. Actually, the Rick and Morty colorway was 135 bucks, but all the other like general release colorways was 125 bucks. And then the PG6 is going for 110 bucks. And for some reason, it's not on Nike.com anymore. They said it was going to release on the 22nd of April. And then I checked on the 22nd and the PG6 just disappeared. It's just not on the website anymore. So I don't know what happened to it. But if you guys do want to cop, I try to leave an affiliate link in the description box. Both of these shoes are amazing performers. They're in my rotation very, very heavily. I love playing both of them. So we'll see which one's better, or we'll try to figure out which one will be better for you guys, right? But anyways, let's get it started off with the Tracciones. And if you're playing on a clean court, both of these shoes are freaking phenomenal, guys. And for the MB.01, both of the colorways that I have, right? So the Rick and Morty and also like the what is that, like an infrared color, have translucent outsoles, right? And I believe there's a colorway, the Galaxy colorway that's coming out has a solid rubber outsole, which I kind of do want to get. I feel like it's coming out in a couple days, right? But either way, the translucent outsole is amazing. You know, if you're playing on a clean court, it's a freaking amazing bite. If you're playing on a dusty court, however, you're gonna have to wipe a little bit, but it's a very easy way. You just go boom, boom, and you're good to go. And also another thing that I absolutely love about the MB.01 is the outsole curvature, guys. The outsole curvature is absolutely amazing, and it reminds me a lot of old school Kyries. The Kyries that have been coming out haven't really had the crazy outsole curvature like in the Kyrie 2, 3, and 4. But the MB.01, you know, definitely brings it back with that outsole curvature that I love. Here in the PG6, we have a solid rubber outsole, and also if you're playing on a clean court, really solid bite, top tier bite actually. And also if you're playing on a dusty court, I would say it picks up a little bit less dust than the MB.01, right? Like the PG6 doesn't pick up dust as quickly as the MB.01. I mean, the MB.01 didn't even like pick up dust that fast either, but playing in both of the shoes, I feel like the PG6 picked up a little bit less dust, and also it's a very easy wipe. You just do a light wipe or two and you're good to go, right? If you're playing on an outdoor court, obviously the PG6 is not a great option. You know, the rubber is very easily moved, it's very pliable. Here in the MB.01, the rubber is very hard, so the MB.01 is probably the better option for an outdoor court, right? So it all depends on like what your play style is and where you play, obviously, right? If you're playing on a clean court, they're both amazing. If you're playing on a dusty court, the PG6 is a little bit better, although the MB.01 is still really good. And if you're playing on an outdoor court, the MB.01 is going to be better. Also, outsole curvature, right? If you want the outsole curvature, like from old school Kyries, then go with the MB.01. If you don't really care, obviously it doesn't matter. So there's that. For me personally, I would say I like the MB.01 a little bit better just because of the outsole curvature, and also it wasn't that bad on dust either way, so that's why I'm leaning toward the MB.01 a little bit. Alright, moving on to the heel to toe transition. Both of these shoes are pretty damn smooth, right? So here in the MB.01, we have a pretty nice curve shape, exposed midsole as well, so it's not super clunky really at all here in the heel. Nice curve shape here in the forefoot, and a good amount of forefoot flex, as you guys can see. So doing heel dominant strides down the court, very smooth. I would say it's a little bit smoother here in the PG6 though, right? So here in the heel, we have a nice curve shape, and we have the fully exposed React here in the back of the heel. And just like the React gives you a nice bounce, right? When you're doing heel dominant strides, which I like. And it feels a little bit smoother because of that than the MB.01. Also, nice curve shape here in the forefoot, and a lot of forefoot flex. So they're both smooth, but I would say I like the PG6 just a tiny bit better. Alright, moving on to the cushioning setup. So the MB.01, we have full length nitro foam, and then the PG6 we have full length React, right? So they're both soft and they both offer a good amount of compression. I would say there's a little bit more compression in the PG6 because the MB.01 is caged, right, as you guys can see. So I wish, you know, like this last X wasn't like this plastic, just because I would like to feel a little bit more compression, but either way it's still soft, right? But one thing that the PG6 has over the MB.01 is bounce, right? So nitro foam isn't super bouncy, especially comparing to React. and here in the PG6 it has a nice bounce here in the heel. And also, if you want court feel, the PG6 is a little bit better, right? So the MB1, not the best for court feel. I feel like it's because the insole is quite thick and plush, right? And the step-in comfort is actually very comfortable in the MB1. The PG6, not so much. You just have a regular ortholite insole and it does bottom out pretty quickly. So if you want a little bit more step-in comfort, then go with the MB1. But like I said, you have a worse court feel. Impact protection for heel strikes, they're both really good. If you're landing on your forefoot, I would say the MB1 is a little bit better just because it's a little bit thicker for the nitrofoam, right? So overall, in my personal opinion, I feel like the PG6 is a little bit better just because I like the react here in the heel, and I also like the better court feel. All right, moving on to the material. So here in the MB1, I believe they're calling this a mono mesh, right? So here in the forefoot, it's actually pretty damn thin. Look at that. It's thin, it's soft, it feels great on foot. And same thing here in the PG6. It's like a textile material, and it's soft, it's thin, it's supportive. They're both supportive, but I guess if you want a little bit more durability, the MB1 will be a little bit better just because we have fuse going around the toe box. The PG6 doesn't really have anything, right? It stays really thin here in the PG6, right? In the midfoot, the MB1 is still really thin, but one thing that I love about both of the shoes is how plush the tongue is, all right? So yeah, they're both large tongues, as you guys can see, and they both have a lot of padding. So that feels really nice and cozy. And then here in the ankle area, I would actually say the MB1 has a little bit more padding than the PG6, right? So if you want the overall more cozier upper, then go with the MB1. If you want the more minimal feeling upper, then go with the PG6 just because of the more minimal padding here in the ankle area. For quality though, I would say, I don't know, the mono mesh seems a little cheap, you know, comparing it to the textile material. But then like this material here in the midfoot for the PG6 doesn't seem like the best, you know, especially comparing it to this here in the MB1. So I would tie it up for quality, and they both feel very nice on foot. Alright, moving on to the fit. I went true to size for both of the shoes, and they both fit me extremely well. So my toes go right to the edge of the shoe. It's quite snug here in the toe box. It's not super snug to the point where it's like I can't curl my toes, but it's a pretty snug fit, which I like. And also width-wise, they're both pretty narrow. So yeah, fit for me was amazing. If you have a wide foot or you want a roomier fit in the toe box, and I would suggest going up half a size. Alright, moving on to support and lockdown. They're both good, but I would say the MB1 is a little bit more supportive. For me personally, I'm a light dude. They're both good, but here in the PG6, the material is a little bit softer and just not, it doesn't feel as supportive as the MB1 for some reason, and it kind of like rolls over on itself. Especially when I'm doing hard lateral movements, which, like I said, wasn't a huge deal for me, but if you're heavier, you might feel it a little bit more. So just be careful on that. I don't think it'll be bad if you're a heavier dude. It's not gonna feel as supportive as the MB1. So there is the support of the material, but for lateral containment, you should be pretty good. I mean, here in the PG6, you have a lot of the rubber outsole coming up, acting as a lateral cage here in the forefoot and here in the heel, and same thing with the MB1. The mono mesh is supportive, and we have a little bit of the midsole coming up, acting as a sidewall, and we have an internal TPU heel counter. As far as lateral stability goes, let's see which shoe is wider. They're both, it's pretty much the same exact width. Yeah, I really had no issues with lateral instability. They both felt really good. The MB1 is like a mid top, right? And then the PG6 is more like a low top, but I mean, the MB1 doesn't really offer a whole lot of ankle support. I still have good movement in my ankle, so I would tie it up for ankle support. All right, moving on to the weight. The MB1 is definitely gonna be heavier. I think it's like 13 point something, right? 13.19 ounces. Not heavy, it's a little bit heavier than average. And the PG6 is like 12 point something, right? 12.17. So basically an ounce lighter than the MB1. And yeah, you definitely notice it, right? There is a good amount more foam, especially here in the ankle area. And also we have all this plastic, right? And I feel like React has a very light foam. And nitrofoam is not a light foam, so you can feel that the MB1 is a little bit heavier, but they're both extremely responsive, right? 13 ounces definitely isn't heavy. You feel really quick when you're playing in both of the shoes. It's just that the PG6, you feel a little bit lighter on your feet. But if you want something a little bit more cozy and a little bit more supportive, then the MB1 is probably the better option. All right, moving on to the ventilation, I would say the PG6 is a little bit better. There's more airflow through this textile material. I mean, the mono mesh, there's a little bit, but I would say the PG6 is a little bit cooler. And moving on to the aesthetics, oof, I don't know guys, I feel like the MB1 looks a little bit better, although I love the PG6. The PG6 definitely grew on me a lot. There's a lot of great colorways coming out, and Paul George has been playing in some really dope PEs as well. But the MB1 is just, you can't beat the MB1. I love the aesthetics of the MB1. So tell us what you guys think looks better down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, I can't really say one's better than the other. They're both amazing, but if you want a certain type of shoe, then one's a little bit better than the other, right? So obviously, if you want the lighter shoe and the more minimal shoe, then go with the PG6. If you want the cozier and more supportive shoe, then go with the MB1. Also, the React, in my personal opinion, the cushion is a little bit better in the PG6 just because you have that extra bounce here in the heel. But the MB1 is still nice. You know, it's still soft. You still get a good compression and good impact protection. So yeah, you really can't go wrong with either of them. I mean, for me, I just play in both because they're both amazing, right? But I do have days where it's like, oh, I want something a little bit more cozy and a little bit more supportive, and that's when I pick the MB1. And on days I want a nice cushion, but with like a lighter shoe, then I pick the PG6. But anyways, that about wraps it up for this versus video. Again, if you guys want to cop either of these shoes, I try to leave an affiliate link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.